Hi, and welcome to the 85th edition of the Keen Minds podcast, where we're covering NBC's The Blacklist. This is Season 6, Episode 22, Robert Diaz, and this was our Season 6 finale. I'm Jen, aka Takara Saiko.
And I am Tessa, and this is, what's this episode for us, 86?
85.
Ah.
We're ending the season on 85. I like that. The numbers person in me really enjoys that nice
85
nice number there. I think that's good.
Of it.
Instead of being somewhere in the middle.
How did you like the episode?
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It's my first round through it. I think I almost enjoyed it more. And I know that sounds really weird, but I started nitpicking a little bit more on my second round. But overall, I thought it was very enjoyable, very nicely paced.
The pace was very good.
Yeah, the pace was excellent. And pacing is one of my main complaints with The Blacklist. It's been a frustration of mine for seasons. And so when you hear me say, I enjoyed the pacing on this episode, that's a big compliment. I thought it was very well done.
Next season, I'm going to start having sound effects. Like when Jen likes something, I want to get like a nice little like cling.
That's what we need to do. Or play a drinking game. When Jen complains about continuity or pacing, take drink. Just don't get alcohol poisoning. That's all we ask. Maybe play it with, Coke or Dr. Pepper.
Or maybe we just do the cling.
There you go.
So,
how about you? How did you like it?
I loved it. I mean, generally the episodes written by the Johns are always my favorite. When they've done them with Lucas Ryder, that combination is just so good.
It does seem to work well. And we thought last week's was Lucas, and it turns out
it
was this week.
It was the same team.
It was Taylor. No, Taylor was Taylor Martin, I believe. Was the writer on last week's. She was partnered with someone else, but I don't remember who. But I do remember seeing Taylor's on there when I went to go look and double check and make sure this was a John's episode. Mm-hmm. But I believe last week's was Taylor Martin.
And this really, the only complaint I have about this is about NBC. They should have really put this as a 2-hour finale. And have one and leave Rasvet at its own standalone episode one day. I think that didn't serve the season well. And as usual with the Blacklist, I think the binge watching is what's the way to go. Things will become a lot more obvious.
I agree with you on that. I do think that last week and this week belong together, but you never know what happens in the background, the reasons that they choose to do things like that. And a lot of times
they had a slot.
Yeah. And I've heard people talk about, in writers' rooms and such, that sometimes they get a heads up on that kind of stuff and they're able to write to it, like here's our breaks. So we want to make sure to hit these points at this time. And that's fantastic, when they're able to do that, but sometimes they don't get to. And so it's probably not really anybody's fault. It's just it
was a general...
It's the roll of the die. I mean, that's really what it boils down
to. It wasn't a complaint as much as, it bothered me because the writing and the episode deserved to be told in that way. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't. But you know what? Other than that, I have zero complaints. It took me to today to figure it out.
Okay.
So that is impressive. This is the second episode that have taken me more time to figure things out. So kudos, guy. It's not easy to confuse me, but I got it.
Well, I will say I do have one thing you'll be happy with. Mm-hmm. I'm not against it by any stretch, but I am more open to the possibility that Red is not Ilya now.
Because you think the stranger is Ilya?
I don't know if it's because And here's the problem. I was hoping by today, we're recording this on Saturday after the episode aired on Friday. And when The Stranger was leaked out, I don't know if it was footage that was released or if it was just leaked footage. I have no idea. But when it was put out there before the episode, people started going, wow, he looks a lot like the actor that played young Ilya. And,
he does. Great casting.
He does. And
if he is. And if it isn't, it's a great way of confusing us.
Yeah, and that may be it too. And so I don't know if I'm influenced by opinions I've been reading but like there's something in me that's going, what if that's Ilya? Oh my god, that looks like Ilya. And so it may just be
red,
meant.
No red.
And it may just be meant to make you feel that way, like you just said. I don't know, but all I can say is I am open to the possibility that Red is Ilya. I am open to the possibility that he's not. And so I am not ready to make a firm commitment either way at this point.
Okay. Yeah, it's I gotta say, guys, I think you guys listen to us. So if you do, it was a very enjoyable episode. I particularly enjoy being the mice, and you are the cat. So I'm game. It was just overall fun. It was just fast paced. I love the way all the rest of the characters were used.
Some of my very favorite episodes of the Blacklist have been the team-wide heists that they've pulled. I'm not overly fond of it when it's just one or two characters. I love those full cast heists that they pull. The only exception for a heist episode that was one or two people was Tom's, but everyone knows why I have that exception. I'm not even gonna pretend. But this had, without being a heist particularly, it had that same feel, that same vibe of a heist. I don't know who chooses the music, but whoever does, I want to say I've read somewhere that Bokenkamp is
somewhat, but they have a music director.
I'm sure they do.
Some of the stuff, like Eisendrath was the one who wrote Tom's Death Scene, and he said that he always knew that was going to be the music playing in whatever.
Thanks a lot, John. I can no longer hear Sound of Silence now. I refuse to listen to that song ever again. Like, it's been ruined for me. Utterly ruined. I cannot listen to Sound of Silence anymore.
Sad. I feel sad for you because that's great.
It is. It's a gorgeous song. All right, I now know who to blame. Eisendrath, I'm looking at you, bud.
Yeah,
I love your writing, but I am...
It was a gorgeous scene. I know that you got over me, but as, one of the best. However...
I am biased, and I'm aware of that. Regardless,
I got a question for you.
What I was saying was that they are always spot on with the music. And this was no exception. The music was fantastic. It added to the scenes. I very, very much enjoyed it.
I got a question for you.
I have an answer. May not be what you like, but I have an answer.
Between all the heist double episodes that we've had that include a heist, I think the director is one. What else we have in terms of heists?
The one in Paris.
Yes, Grace and Blaze. Mm-hmm. And this one. What is your favorite?
Oh gosh, I'd have to go through and look through. I have a habit when I'm trying to remember certain episodes because I haven't done a full rewatch in a while. I'm hoping this summer to have some time to go ahead and do a full rewatch. I'm assuming season 7's our last season. I know James has been talking about an 8, but who knows? But there seem to be gearing towards it. I would like to do a full rewatch before the final season. Mm-hmm. What I assume is. Won't know until we get there. But I tend to go through when I'm trying to think of certain types of episodes, and I literally will Google Blacklist episodes, and Google has a fantastic bit where they will just lay them all out for you, or you can go on Wikipedia and do it as well. Mm. Where you just look through them. And I would have to go through, find all the heist episodes, because otherwise If you just
Well,
put me on
between
the
those
spot, I'm
three,
going to forget something.
Grayson Blaze, the director, and this one.
I mean, this wasn't technically a heist episode, but something with that feel to it.
Well, it's a charade. Let's call it a charade.
A charade. Charade's good. We had other ones that fall into that as well. The one with Nathan Fillion, or not Nathan Fillion, Nathan Lane.
But that was Red, and then they were doing something different.
Okay, all right. Between those three.
Between those three.
And it might be just that we are right here, right now. But I very much enjoyed this one.
This is my favorite heist episode because it used everybody to the full advantage. The director, wrestler was babysitting Liz, so that didn't work.
It felt, and this is another complaint. I feel like I'm kudosing you guys on all the things I usually gripe about, that's good. I feel good for doing this. I'm very excited to be able to do that. But I complain a lot about a lack of balance in the cast. It's an ensemble cast, and you can only have so much balance with that, or else you don't get the depth that you need.
Yeah, 43 minutes doesn't give you that much.
Yeah, exactly. They keep shortening it, too. I mean, I understand the lights need to stay on, but give us the story. That's what we're here for. Regardless, I felt like they balanced this particular episode out incredibly well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is my reason, because the pace was great, the charades were good, and this is the first episode when we have two charades. We have one involving Liz and another one involving Red. So that was just outstanding to me.
And in a way, another one involving Robert Diaz.
Yes.
So 3. Yeah. Know me, I
love
layers.
And I found the fourth one.
Okay, go.
Which I will tell you at the end. We're not there yet.
Get me all excited in the moment. My goodness.
I know. I gotta take a little bit of the sadist in me sometimes for a little walk.
Tease.
So, who do you want to start with?
Goodness.
Should we start with Rudiger and the Germans?
I will. I love Rudiger. Rudiger is one of my favorites of Red's army that's still around. I was thrilled to death when they brought him back and continued to bring him back. I mean, because first couple, 3 seasons, it was just every great once. While he was in season 1 once. He was in season 1?
Yes. He was in Ansel Garrick. He was there. He was at the table with the other Germans.
You're right. Oh my goodness, you're right. I'd forgotten about that. I always forget about that because I think you've called that one before. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he was in season 1 twice. He was in season 2 once, but it was all very sporadic, and obviously very subtle in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that they've brought him back so much in season 6 has just been a delight for me. I love our drunken little bomb maker. He's so crazy and so much fun. And his, what did they call him? The Shadow 5. I loved seeing Red get that excited over them.
I know. That was awesome. And
it was a great way to introduce a group that could have been a blacklister if it had fallen out differently. But they didn't. It was someone Red enjoyed. Someone Red, had... I'm trying to think of the right word for it. Had
admiration from?
Yeah, admiration. Admiration's exactly it. Thank you.
So and what I found the most interesting is, first, the Germans were great. They were fun, and they work at the airport, and it says, part-time. So there's all these bomb makers that are working in all these part-time jobs that had nothing to do with that. Obviously, when they do that, they probably get paid ridiculously good amount of money, yet they're there making bombs and working at the airport. I found that to be absolutely hilarious. And then the fact that the whole bomb making was kind of a charade, and it was just like a distraction to happen. It was just wonderful. But I also, that's something that we have been seeing. It's countdowns. And a count up and a count down. which is something that I find intriguing. We had the Kungur 6. These are the
Shadow 5.
Shadow 5. The fulcrum has 4 pieces. So we're going down, and now we're going to get the other 3. 3, 2, 1. And then the other countdown was with fingers. We started with Carla losing 1. Leonard Cole had 2 taken. Pete has 3 taken.
Interesting. So, I don't know for sure if it means anything, but it's still a very interesting
and Berlin
observation.
Lost hand.
It's a very interesting observation.
Yeah. So I find those things and like, you know what, this seems like we're just converging, one going up, the other one going down. So whenever I see those things, it's like, yep, that means something. I don't know what it means, but it means something.
Well, I mean, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it's certainly something to put a pin in and remember, because it could mean something. It very likely could. And with the Blacklist, as we've discussed before, there are so many little clues that you get along the way that when you go back seasons into it and binge watch it, you go, oh my goodness, there's that puzzle. It goes back to Red's white puzzle that he's creating. I think that was season 3 in the White Room. And 4. That continues to be what I think about with the Blacklist, because you don't know what you don't know, and with a puzzle without a picture on it, it's all the more difficult to put together. And so you have to kind of put it aside like you do with a puzzle and group the like with the like and see if it fits. And that's really what something like that would be. Like the apples, like the colors, and the plaid.
Yeah. Oh, plaid did not disappoint.
I am not questioning your plaid. Don't worry. Good. That's not what I'm doing.
Good. Yeah. Don't start doubting my plaid. So, who you want to take?
Let's see. Did you have anything else on Rudiger?
No, I just love him. I wish they could bring him back. I love the actor. He does a terrific job.
Is he actually German? Do you know if he's German?
I don't know. I don't think it is.
I started looking him up today, and I got distracted in the middle of my Google search. It's been my entire Saturday.
No, I don't think he is, because I've heard in other sites talk about that he's German. It's not that good, but it was a terrific scene. I loved it.
I've heard people say that about Ryan's German too. Thankfully, I don't know enough German to be able to judge, so I don't, it doesn't bother me. But I'm sure
when they speak Spanish, I know that it's not so good, but it doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
they're actors.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you for trying.
Yeah, you got to give some leeway there.
Yeah.
But all right, well, let's see. We had Vontae. Since we're doing Red's Army, basically, let's go into Vontae.
Vontae was great organizing the rubble, and I love that Red said it's going to be a riot. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a riot.
The thing is, I've been wanting to know for a long while exactly what Vontae was in prison for, because they haven't said. They never made it clear what he was in prison for, and you look at him and go, he's a precious cinnamon roll. What was he doing in prison? Like, protect this kid. He's sweet. He's innocent. Like, what landed him there? I think we may know now. I think he may be a bit of a community organizer there of the more violent approach.
Yeah, something of the sort.
But he's very good at it.
He's very good at it. He's definitely a people person.
And when we saw him in prison, he was the exact same way. He was running errands for Red. He was working angles for Red. He's just a clever, bright kid. Who's really not a kid. I mean, I don't know how old he's supposed to be, but, young
older
man.
Than 21 in order to be.
I mean, young man, and...
To me, he's a kid.
I love Vontae, though. When they introduced him, I remember thinking that I really hoped that they got him out and that he stayed with Red, and I was thrilled when they kept him on.
Yeah. How did you, what do you think about Dembes coming back? And now we have the Townsend
I
um,
initiative.
initiative.
I think it was interesting, and I'm not overly shocked. One, because I had heard rumors he was supposed to come back in the finale, and two, just because what he said made sense.
Mm-hmm.
That
I follow my path,
and it led me back to you. Yeah, I really liked that line. It's what made a scene that could have been viewed as convenient writing, that he walked in at just the right time to shoot Anna McMahon in the head, which, by the way, kudos, Dembe. Thank you for doing the deed. I've been waiting for someone to shoot her in the face for a long while. And because that's my jam is, if I don't like a character in the Blacklist, I want them to be shot in the face.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
So Anna McMahon got shot in the face. Well, I mean, maybe not the face, but still close enough. But regardless, I think it was a good example of where the scene could have very well hedged on convenient writing, that he showed up in just the right time. And they wrote it in such a way that it made sense. I can't even verbalize it really, but it...
Let me try.
Go for it.
I think because Dembe didn't... He went away, but he was obviously looking for whatever it is that they were looking for. He decided to go on a vacation, on a pilgrimage to Mecca, on a sightseeing tour of Japanese gardens. He was actually doing something, and that led him back to Red. And it wasn't that, I came back because there was an urgency to it. So it wasn't like, hey, I just arrived and, whoa, look, I saved your life.
Oh, look, chaos. Imagine that.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's
the second time that he has done that.
It was very well done. And yeah, he, season 3, when they were on the run, he walked in.
Kane. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. And shoot everybody. It had a very similar feeling to that.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, that it was a sense of urgency for him to get back, because he had his own reason for getting back, and so he was rushing to get there. He just happened to land in the middle of the chaos, which is not hard to do in the Blacklist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like when they bring something right back to something they've done before. Oh. It was Ariel Kane. He came and he saved Red and Liz. This time he came and he saved the entire task force and Red. So I like that. That gave me a nice, satisfying thing of this is just a repeat. I like when they repeat because that means something.
And I really felt like, and I think it was in part because of Morgan and Chuck, I think was the other guy's name. Both of them got shot. Both of Red's guys got shot. It was going after, Red told Liz to get out. And while he's gotten softer on the task force over the years, it's no longer, I will only speak to Elizabeth Keene. He's close with all of them now. I mean, close-ish. As close as Red gets with people. I feel like this episode really keyed in on how much he's willing to sacrifice for the task force on whole. Not just Liz, but the task force on whole. He sort of adopted them in a weird way. That he was willing... I enjoyed the moment between Cooper and Red where he said, do you have someone in DHS? And Red hesitated because, that's confessing something to a high-ranking FBI, and he said, I'm not here for the opaque right now. Like, I need to know this because it's going to help us. And it just really showed that journey that they've been on, and it's been 6 full seasons of journey that of development between the task force and Reddington. And the shootout there with Red's men getting shot and him on his knees, he went into a situation which was highly dangerous, very risky for him. But he was willing to take that risk for the task force. Not just Liz, but for the task force on whole. And you really got that impression from it. It was very nice.
Yeah. What we have had now Red saving Cooper's life in The Judge, wrestler life when did he save wrestler's life?
In Enslow Garrick, but that's also a night we were talking about parallels and nods back. That was such
Yes.
a nice nod back when they were in there and wrestler made the comment,
Yeah.
"Oh, this brings back memories. None of them good."
So he saved wrestler's life, or wrestler's leg at least. He might have just entirely.
Well, he saved his life.
died.
He did a blood
Cauterize a
transfusion.
wound. Yeah.
In blood transfusion.
So he have saved Cooper, wrestler, Liz many times.
Samar, even though she's not there right now, he saved Samar.
Yeah. Saved Samar.
Multiple times.
And Aram. Well, he saved his reputation because they had him beg for that. Not his life, but his reputation. And I think by now they have all saved each other's life.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, they're like a family now. They're tied together.
Well, I mean,
because
that's exactly
when you
it.
save somebody's life, you have a certain responsibility towards them.
It's a chosen family situation, and that's something that they've been leaning towards the entire show. It's a theme that runs deeply through the show, and it was very nice to see it come to head in this.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was a very good way to show it.
Can we jump to wrestler?
Sure. I love Ress.
I'm very excited about the way that the character was written in this episode.
By the way, and the Johns are very good at writing Ress, which you would hope they're very good at writing all of their characters, considering they created this. But with Ress, something that I noticed on my rewatch was... I noticed it when I was looking at someone's gift set that they did. Did Wrestler have Red's gun? He had a revolver. Not a semi-automatic.
Where?
At the shootout. Well, because he was aiming at Anna when Anna had Red on his knees with the gun to his head, and he said, "If you shoot him, I'm going to shoot you." And he had a revolver, not a semi-automatic, which like the Glock, I believe, is what the feds usually carry. So if he had stolen it off of one of the transports, it should have been a Glock or something similar to that, and it definitely was not. It was, I believe it was a revolver. I'd have to go back and look.
But it was
sure.
something that he took from one of the guys.
Was
one
it?
Of yeah. And
Okay.
I think that some of those may have been especially if they were going to shoot them, they may have been the ones that they were going to use to plant on them.
That's true, but why would you... it's kind of an odd gun to choose, but...
It is.
But still, it reminded me of Red's gun. That was the first thought that I had when I noticed it.
That's unusual.
It's interesting. It may not mean anything, but it was interesting.
I love the fact that this time Wrestler had a lot of very nice moments, but two stood out to me. The first one was the way that Wrestler is the one who figures out what the plan was. Because I kept saying, like, the guy was there. I mean, obviously it was not to shoot the president, because the guy's there talking blah, blah, blah all this time and nothing happens. So I had a feeling already before we got into the episode that they were about to kill the wife. And the British guy had just got it wrong because it was a presidential debate and a plot. He assumed it was about killing the president.
Which is not a far jump to make. I mean...
No, I think that's going to be part of the plot of next season, because why would Anna and Sandquist be so intent on... It's like saving the country means saving this guy who's obviously not that very good a guy. He took money from Russians. He killed two people and then covered it up.
Yeah, the fate of the Union rests on his shoulders, then that would be would be screwed there. Yeah. But no, I actually have that note in my notes going, why were they so interested? you know, why, like, this is not nice and neat at the end of the season. It's very
it's
messy.
going into the next one.
And I'm glad to see that. Even if it's not their usual route of going into the next season with it, I am glad to see that they're going into it, because season 4, they wrapped up relatively nicely with Kate.
And it doesn't do much for...
It's bizarre. No. Yeah, you and I have talked about that quite a bit on the podcast before, and I thought about that on here. So I'm glad to hear you say that you think it'll go into next season, because
it means that whoever the alternative for Diaz is, they consider it to be a threat to the United States.
Yeah, we don't know who his vice president is. We haven't seen anything.
But I don't think it's about the vice president. It's about the next president, because they're going into a presidential election. So it felt to me that Sandquist and McMahon were actually not the bad guys. They were actually trying to make sure that Diaz would stay in office, preventing whoever was the other candidate.
There was a woman. We didn't see anything else from her, but the presidential candidate that we saw during the debate was a woman that he shook hands with. That's all we saw.
Yeah.
And
so they must consider her to be a threat.
So they believe Diaz is the lesser of two evils.
Yes.
Okay. I could buy that.
Yeah. Either that, or they're, because other than that, why would you go with a cover-up of a murder by a former candidate, now president? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's not going to save the world, because, that's just bad.
That is the exact thing that I have in my notes. Like, what part of this makes sense? How is that saving the country to save this man's reputation? Like, to a degree, I could see saving face, but we've had enough scandals over the years with presidents. The presidents are notorious for scandals.
Yeah.
When you get to that height of power, it's it would just be another one in the bucket. It's not the fate of the nation. And both of them seem to be true believers in that.
And they kept saying it. It's the fate of our nation, is our country. So I think that in a way, and I've been seeing this, that at the end, a lot of the guys that seem bad are going to be seen at the end as the good guys. And the good guys were unknowingly preventing the really good guys from doing what they were doing. Because I think that Anna McMahon thought that Red hated Diaz. And that was not the case. Red actually liked Diaz because he got something on Diaz.
Well, he was able to manipulate him. And that was a very interesting conversation that Hannah Baker, Cooper, and Diaz had at the end. I mean, because, and you can chalk some of it up to ego, that he was trying to shuffle off, responsibility onto someone else. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they took airtime for that conversation to say, how can a what was it?
A fugitive
on the run take down the president of the United States? Just the phrasing, the way it was worded, it kind of keyed in to make me feel like there was something more there. That's, like we say, put a pin in it and think about it later. We're going to come back to it. Mm-hmm. It's not just his ego talking.
Yeah.
And Reddington made the comment. He said, I don't care about Diaz.
Mm-hmm. I just want to get you... That and I always want to remind people, and this is a great spot for this, that this whole plot of season 6 with the plot against the United States started when Red, looking for Dr. Kohler, came across the Corsican, because he was one of the dead guys that was a known associate of the Corsican. So he literally stumbled across the plot because one of the dead guys was tied to the Corsican. So that was not what Red was doing. So let's shelve that until we get to the crazy part of the podcast when Tessa does theories.
See, aren't you glad that I focus more on characters instead of theories? Otherwise, we would just go into so many levels of chaos over here. I'm over here going, all right, I've gotten to the point where I can enjoy the show again and kind of sit back and focus on the character development, and here we go. Let's enjoy the ride. As Megan Boone said, let's enjoy the ride. And you're over here going, but the theories, as my head explodes.
Yeah. Tessa theories. In fact, in Reddit, somebody actually made an award with my name. It's called the Tessie Award.
That's
for
amazing.
Crazy theorizing. And I was mentioned in one of those digital magazines.
Are you
My
serious?
timeline was, yes, I was.
That's exciting.
Yes.
Kudos, friend.
And I have a fake award now in my name, the Tessie Award. So when you do like crazy theorizing, that's a Tessie Award.
That's not a fake award. I mean, you may not get anything but the award for it, but still, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So.
All right. So, was there anything else on Russ that you wanted to?
Yes. My second thing. He was the one who actually realized what they were doing. So, I like because they've been a very consistent way of writing wrestler.
He realized what they were doing. He said the only thing that makes sense was that
they didn't fail.
That they didn't. Yeah, but he didn't pinpoint that it was an intentional shot at the... He did pinpoint there was an intentional shot at the wife. He just didn't pinpoint why, which Red Leaned into.
Yeah.
And so
Red absolutely knew why, because...
Well, that goes back...
That's a way that Red thinks.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Is it goes back to the type of person Red is versus the type of person Wrestler is. Wrestler, despite the growth... Say what?
You taught me well with the characters.
I did. You're going to outdo me now. I'm having a purpose. What am I going to do with my life? Go create other characters.
I'm never going to be there. I keep learning.
But
I'm proud of myself.
You should be. You should be. You've got an award. You're figuring out character development. Yay! But it's... I lost my train of thought.
Oh,
it doesn't
sorry.
matter. It's okay. It doesn't matter.
The one thing that he didn't, and the other thing was,
what I was gonna say was it's a nice balance out that even though as far as wrestlers come, because he has learned, he's dove into the shades of gray. He has learned the world is not black and white. It has made him a better agent, but still, in the grand scheme of things, when you compare him to Raymond Reddington, he still views the world in black and white compared to Red. Mm-hmm. And so it was a very nice way of showing how far wrestlers come, but he's never going to be in the league of Red. He's never going to be able to do what Liz does. Liz can think like Red. She doesn't like it when she does. She doesn't...
It came out well this time.
It did. I noticed it did. She went all in and it worked out. And kudos to her. But I appreciate her for it, and we can get further into that with Liz when we get to her. But
Ressa was really well written on this episode.
He was, and that is the core of it, is that it just came out really well and highlighted, for me at least, as a big Ress fan, it highlighted his growth, his journey, and didn't negate where he's come from.
And the other moment that was very nice to me was the moment where Red says a word and, talking about that, and Ressa says, it stays with me. And I found it very reassuring because Red let it go. There was no threat. There was nothing. Yeah. It was just like, and Ressa is like, I can't believe she did tell you this. Why would she tell you this? Like, this woman got no boundaries.
I think that Red has... I'm going to hate myself for saying this, as angry as I've been at Red lately. I'm about to give Red a compliment here.
OMG.
I know. You put a red letter day in it for it. Mark it on the calendar. Red has grown a great deal. He went from the mocker... Because he did. I think...
The banana peel...
Yeah, I mean,
clumsy
to a
agent in the
degree,
bushes.
I think he had a degree of respect for Wrestler. Otherwise, Rest never would have made it onto this team to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think that Wrestler was the low man on the totem pole in Red's hierarchy
Mm-hmm.
when it started. If you remember, and I believe it was the pilot, Wrestler legitimately tried to speak to him. Red would look at him for half a beat and then turn to Liz and talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a season 1 thing. I mean, that just stayed. And there was a slight turning point in Ansel Garrick when he saved his life and such, but we've seen this progressive growth with him, and that scene was very nice. It showed that he trusts him.
Mm-hmm. Well, then they had nice things with Aram, because Aram is in the field, and I love, like, he's in the van. He's like, no, we're good here. I'm not getting out. And you know that they were just gonna say they escape and shoot them in the back or whatever.
Okay, let's go into Aram, because there was a moment there. Speaking of character growth and the characters' journeys that they've been on,
Mm-hmm.
Aram putting his knee on the guy's broken leg. I don't know if it was intentional to begin with, but he certainly didn't let up once he knew it was happening. He may have just been pinning him to begin with and not realized that he was injured. I don't find it plausible to think that was Aram's first go-to, was in basically enhanced interrogation. We've seen Wrestler do it. We've seen Liz do it. That's not a big deal for them, but for Aram,
They had them. They were going to kill them. I was saying, like, they were like,
yeah. But I still will say, regardless, it shows Aram's continual dive into the deep.
Yeah.
And
I want to say, can I just go? And
yeah, go.
I'm just putting a mental thing on my brain.
No, I mean that was really my point, was the fact that he put his knee into it, and that even when he realized what was happening, he was, I mean, seasons 1 through 4 Aram would have gone, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, and immediately backed off because he was hurting another human being. A terrorist was trying to kill him, and he felt bad for shooting him. Mm-hmm. And I don't begrudge him that. I think there is something very, and I don't say, yeah, I was gonna, precious is the wrong word, because that's just got a different connotation these days. But yes, innocent and good about that.
It's that good innocent before you understood what evil does. And then you realize that,
like Wrestler, he needed to grow to be able to survive in this world. And that's really what it boils down to, is these characters have to grow or they're going to die. Mm-hmm. I'm not willing to lose anybody else.
What was the pin?
No, find your pin. I'm sorry.
Oh.
No. It's usually my thing. Losing the pin.
Okay, it will come. It was something about the way that Aram,
Aram with the leg and the injury and being willing to advance interrogation ish.
Well, Aram had a very, very specific trajectory, because he started being the innocent and good who had no traumas and was just like, an ethical hacker, and he was recruited and has gone through a training of depth. And I always want to remind people that, because there's a lot of people who are like, they're winging it, they don't know where they're going, and I always like to go back and remind people to take a look at the promotional pictures of season 3. And in the promotional pictures of season 3, Aram was shown at the bottom of, it looked like a submarine or something, and he was climbing up.
I honestly always saw it as one of those ladders in a library, but maybe that's just me.
It had pipes.
Did it?
Yes.
I thought it
And no
looked like one of
windows
those
near him. He was in
one
the
of those
darkness climbing.
one of those rolling ladders to get up to a higher level and view.
Okay, I saw a submarine. You saw a library. Anyway, he
I
was
see
at
a
the
library
bottom of
anytime I
something to
can.
climb on, and he was at the bottom and he was climbing. So that happened, and Wrestler and Cooper and Demba's world were all tilted out of whack. That's what have happened to these characters. They all have gone through a path in which the direction in which they're going, everything got out of whack, and they just had to make hard choices as to who they were and what they were doing. Aram was going up, and Samar was shown in some stairs when she had to make decisions. So, these characters have had this path for a long time. And it's important to remember that, because sometimes we tend to lose faith in the writers and faith in the show, and I have been as guilty as everybody else of doing so. For example, I
both
was
have.
so angry about the bones until I realized the bones had a reason for the bones changing.
Here's the good thing for me. While I'll stand by that, I feel like a lot of the overarching mythology has been incredibly thin this season. So thin. The individual episodes, not in every episode. There's been a lot of mythology recently, but I'm just saying overall, over the course of 22 episodes, I felt like it was very thin, and that they were stretching a story out to meet the episode count that the network required, which is it's a continual debate between network versus streaming. Streaming tends to be quote unquote better, and I definitely add the quotes there, because they tend to have between 10 and 13 episodes, so the writing has to be tight. It is required to be tight, because otherwise you can't tell the story. It's just an entirely different formatting there. And every time I hear someone talk about how they wish they had more episodes, they wish they were just like, the season was year long and there were always episodes and this and that, I'm like, you don't understand how that would kill the writing. Like, 22 is already stressful. And this is coming from someone that wants to get into network TV. Like, I have zero interest in going towards streaming. I would love to get into network TV. But it is a challenge. And it's a challenge to tell your story, not only with no guarantee that you have another season coming, but also to stretch it out for that, and to pace it. It goes back to pacing. It's my continual complaint about pacing.
Yeah.
And
I thought that they were they're actually being pretty generous with canon.
Lately, in the last half of the season, maybe? First half of the season was so slow. It made me want to rip my hair out. No. Oh, you're saying this now. You have a short memory. You and I both talked about it on the podcast.
You know what? I gotta say yes, you're right. At one point in the season, I'm like, this is worse than the bones.
I'm calling you out.
Yeah.
And it may be
you're right.
It may be that I go back and do my rewatch and go, that was more than I realized. But I just remember the feelings that I had, that it felt so stretched and so thin. And what was my point? I had a point somewhere back there.
You lost your pin, like me.
I did. I'm sitting here and I'm just keep going and thinking, somewhere in here I'm going to find my trajectory and find where I was. And I've lost it. I'm just going to have to admit that.
We were talking about pacing.
Yeah. And
the 22 episodes and it being thin. And we were we started talking about Wrestler, and then we went about Aram and the change. No?
There's something in the middle there that shifted me into this rant. Oh, God, what was it? I don't remember. I'm going to go back when I edit this and go, that was it, because I'm going to hear what I was talking about. And I'm sitting here and I have no way to do that right now without wasting time. So anyway, regardless, I totally off of whatever I was meaning to say a million years ago when I started this. This
Did
track
you
of-
know? Okay, so let's talk about.
There you go. Let's just
Liz.
totally shift gears.
Yeah.
Yes,
Let's talk
go to
about
Liz. Do we
Liz
hang on?
did-
Do we want to go to Liz yet, or do we want to keep with the
Oh,
task
Cooper.
force? Cooper. I was
Yay.
like, don't lose Coop there. And I would just like to make the comment that as many complaints as I have about Raymond Reddington, I would love to go eat with that man. He has. I'm sitting there looking. I mean, it's 7 o'clock Central Time.
Delicious.
French toast kebabs? I wasn't aware that was a thing. I'm going to find out what goes into that, and I'm going to make it. My gosh, that is
And the
fantastic.
Ethiopian porridge.
I
I
don't
have
even
no
know
idea
what
what
that
that is, but it
means.
sounded delicious.
Yes. I don't know what it means, but I'm going to find out. And everything.
I was glad that they brought that back. Because it has been a while since other than the steaks
goose.
and that Chicago thing that he was going to eat.
And when Liz showed up in China.
Yes.
She showed up in China. It was
Yeah, but the goose.
Succulent goose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love it when they do that because like there has to be a foodie on staff. And I don't consider myself a foodie. I am a person that was raised in a house that did not cook a lot. And when I got out on my own, I realized just how expensive it is to eat out all the time. And so I decided to teach myself to cook as a young adult. And I literally just go through recipe sites and the cookbooks I have and find things to cook during the week. And that's how I find out how to cook things. But I am a lover of food without being I wouldn't consider myself a foodie just because I don't think I'm at that level. But I have tremendous respect for foodies. I wish I were a foodie. I wish I could afford to be a foodie. And
Red definitely qualifies as a foodie.
Oh, Red's such a foodie, and it's one of the qualities I continue to love him for.
Did you notice that the wrestler and Cooper are like, do you think we have time to eat?
Did you also notice that Liz was drinking that green smoothie of Red's?
Is she having now spinach because she's Popeye? She's now olive oil. She's eating her spinach like Popeye. Yeah, and then Aram is the contrary. He's like, oh my God, are those the kebabs?
The moment I walked in there, I would have been done. I'm like, I don't think on an empty stomach. I just don't. I'm the world's worst. I get distracted. I get so hangry. And if I had just spent the entire night locked up in my own base, I would have been so pissed and so hungry. And they put that in front of me and I would have gone, done. Like, I am not saying another word until I eat.
We can think later. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
you
eat.
like
We'll think.
Eat and think at the same time, but not think before eating. French toast kebabs.
So that was hilarious. And the table with it was just great.
I don't know where Red's been hiding that space, but I want to live there. My gosh, it was amazing.
So, and Cooper was like, yeah, I'm going to take you down. He's like, yeah, you don't know Agent Cooper. I don't think so. He was so cocky with McMahon.
Cocky, yes, but I think that just goes back to the fact that Cooper is a very good man. Does he make mistakes? Absolutely. But he is, at his core, he is just he believes in right and wrong. Now, is he willing to hedge into wrong to get to right? Is he a, ends justify the means kind of guy? I think he's less so these days than he used to be, but I think he is also honest enough with himself to acknowledge when enough
He's an
good
intelligence guy.
Yeah, enough good comes out of out of the
what they
situation
do.
to justify dealing
Yeah.
with the devil. And so I think with McMahon, even if he thought he was going to prison, I don't think he thought they'd ever catch Liz, because he is well aware that regardless of biology, if she isn't Red's biological child, she's geared that direction.
He has not heard that she's not.
Well,
I mean,
I'm just
remember
saying.
when
I'm saying in general.
she was trying to tell Cooper that there was another Reddington, and Reddington is like, what? What are you talking about? That one that could be trusted and turn into the one that cannot be trusted. And Cooper was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I don't blame him for that. Regardless, I think that he has a lot of faith in Liz and a lot of respect for Liz, not just in her capabilities as an agent, but the only phrasing I can use for it is as an operative as well. Mm-hmm. She really is. She's both agent and operative. That's why I've always said she would do very well at something like Halcyon. I don't think she would want to, though. I think she wants to take those skills and use them for the FBI. And as long as she's in the right group, like she is now, she'll be fine with it.
Yeah. Well,
because
I think
they allow her to use it.
Halcyon did everything that Halcyon did was actually for good. Mm-hmm. They didn't never do like a bad thing.
Oh, no,
even when they introduced her, the guy who was hiring her was being undercut by somebody buying oil from terrorists and disguising them as being not from terrorists in order to evade sanctions.
No, I agree. I'm not saying Halcyon's like a bad group. I just, there is something...
More lawful?
Yes, and I think there's something inherent in a lot of ways. I mean, like, I'm very hesitant on trust in general of large corporations and large government. Yeah, just trusting is not my jam. But I think there is something inherent in a lot of Americans that God, as I say this, I'm hearing all the problems with what I'm saying. And I'm hearing, oh, Jen, you are a young white woman, aren't you? What I was going to say was there's a general trust in law enforcement. You would like to trust in law enforcement. Yeah. Whether you can or not is up for debate. Mm-hmm. But you would like to. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to trust, I would think, in...
So you think that Liz is more comfortable within the law? I think
that's a very long way to get to it, but yes.
I think that she's going to end up having to choose, and I have a feeling that she's going to choose not law enforcement because of the things that she was saying that she had to teach Agnes. So how did Red, what kind of things Red did in order to train her so that she can train Agnes. So that is leading me to believe that at the end that's where they would be going. And I could totally see Liz surrendering herself to the FBI and only talking to Assistant Director Donald Ressler.
Oh, that would be fun. I would love to see Liz in that. I mean, and she, to a very small degree, she's already played that part, but not nearly to the style of Raymond Reddington. Because when in latter half of season 3, right after she came back from being on the run, but before she was reinstated, she didn't have her badge back, and she was working as a consultant for the FBI. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what Red does. He's a consultant. He's a CI. He's a confidential informant. It would be very interesting if the task force remained intact and Liz took over. Because I am prepared, I think. I say that. I will never be prepared until I find out how they do it. I am prepared for Red not to survive the show. And I know some people will go, oh, Jen, that's because you hate Red. I don't hate Red. I want to see Red redeemed.
No,
If
you
they-
just try to kill him in every fiction that you write.
You know what? Not the next one. I'm working really hard to keep that man alive, okay?
Wow.
The last one, he just needed... It was the way the redemption fell out, okay? It happens sometimes.
I know you didn't have a choice.
I
The
didn't. That's
character
what the story demanded. Leave me alone. I am a slave to the story.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Let's move to someone else. Cooper.
All
We're done with
right.
Cooper.
Let's move to Red.
All right. Red and Liz and the whole shebang. So, by the way, this is to
Because
kind
we
of
have
combine...
to do Red and Liz and the whole shebang, and then we have to do Red and the other shebang.
The other shebang. I love it. So there was someone we forgot to mention back up with the bit about the Red's army, because he's sort of part-time. He's like that 16-year-old that's gotten his first job out of school and is missing prom.
The prom.
Tadashi. So I have very mixed emotions about Tadashi because I hate that Red went after a minor. Like, it really bothers me that he went after a minor, and I also have to wonder why the frickin' crap did this mother agree to give him weekend access to her child?
Well, you figure it out that if he's a hacker, I'm not sure that Red is the worst that he can go with.
No, I agree with that. Like, but that's because we have a more omniscient sort of view of Red. Like, if he's gonna just put his...
But you don't
wares
know
up
what
for
he had done
sale.
or how Red found him. Because
That's
Red may
true.
have found him because he hacked into the NSA or
You know,
he
if-
hacked into... Yeah. You
if
don't
I-
know how he found him.
What's the mom's name? Mirko? Mirko?
I don't remember. Miyagi.
I think it's Mirko. But regardless, the mom, Tadashi's mom. If I were her, I would take all of his electronics and would not allow him to touch anything electronic. But, you know, that may be a bit extreme.
Like you! What kind of mother would you make? You can't do that. Then go to school and find some other stuff.
That's fair. Actually, you're right. That would be encouraging the kid to just rebel. But
Yeah, and-
still, I'm
and
not
actually,
sure I
this
would be
thing's more
willing to...
illegal. So
I'm
you don't
not
know how he found him. I have
Yeah.
a feeling that whatever Red's doing, it's the best of two evils. So
Yeah, the
you never
lesser
know.
of evils, like we
Yeah.
were talking about earlier. Yes.
it's
And that could be it, but as much as the mom hates him, I'm shocked that she was willing to go that route. We don't know the whole thing, but I also love him, so it's a double-edged sword because I love him and I was kind of glad to get him back because he's adorable.
he was great.
I honestly think I would feel better if he was over 18 and just like
But he's graduating now, so
living
so
in
much.
his mom's basement or something. You know,
He's probably now either go to college or be recruited as a hacker.
well, I mean, he could be a junior and going to the prom, so
assist-
that's 16. Yeah,
He said he was missing his prom.
yeah. Any prom you go to is now your prom. But anyway, regardless, Tadashi, it was just fun seeing him. I feel like I need to, you know, as we're moving into Red, I need to make the comment that it was fun to see him. And I loved Liz's comment. So when you save the President of the United States, you will eventually write a book about this, and you'll be in a whole different level. It's...
Yeah, you're gonna be in a league of your own,
And
and
I think
no woman will be out of your league.
that right there is the reason I can accept Liz being okay with it. Because she does know Red. She does trust Red. For right or wrong, she trusts him. And I think that's what she sees, is that I think that was a greater good sort of statement. You know, you're protecting the President of the United States. Buckle down and do it, kid.
Were you glad to see Panna Baker back?
It was fun. I think that it was appropriate for her to be there. I felt kind of bad for her because I think Cooper lied to her at first, but I love that Red was in cuffs to go see the First Lady. Did you notice
And
that?
yeah,
I
of
mean, he
course.
waltzed in there in cuffs.
Yeah.
That took a lot of trust on Red's part to be willing to do that.
Well, it was Panabaker, and besides, I mean, Panabaker was probably very happy because McMahon basically elbowed her out.
Mm-hmm.
So Panabaker is like, "Yep, I got my own Reddington back."
It's it's the battle of the redheads.
Remember,
What
it
can
was
I say?
yeah,
There are a lot of redheads.
yeah. So you know that Katarina will not have a redhead, right?
I don't know why you got to that, but we'll get to Katarina here in a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just to give you kind of a heads up, I was going to say, I feel like we'll both have some Katarina stuff to lay into. So Red, actually into Red. Where would you like to start with that?
Well, before we go into Red, can we do Liz getting Agnes back?
Okay, if you want to go into that, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific thought on it, or were you looking for my thoughts?
I was looking for your thoughts. Because that is your area, baby.
The Keens are mine.
The
I make
Keens
claims on the
and
Keens.
character and Red was there.
I thought it was very interesting, and they made it very pointed in the writing where she was determined that she was getting Agnes back. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. She was finishing this, they were wrapping it up, and she would have Agnes back. Now, I think I said last week that I didn't assume that we'd get Agnes back until she walked into the room. Honestly, I didn't trust that we'd get Agnes back until she walked into the room. Towards the end of the episode, I'm going, I don't think we're getting Agnes back. And then there she came. So I was wrong. I'm willing to admit that. And, wrong-ish.
Who knows for how long, though?
Hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
I was hesitant. But I loved that scene there. And I thought it was very interesting how nervous Liz seemed. She has spent, and she used the term anxious, and I think that was actually accurate when she used that, because the way she looked at Red when she realized she was going to have dinner alone with her little girl was terror. She was afraid.
Yeah, what am I going to talk about? I'm not sure I can do this.
What do I do? She was scared. It was a little girl looking to her father for help. Her husband is dead. She's finally brought her daughter home. This is reality sinking in. I think Liz has a habit of pulling herself out into this heightened reality that she often lives in. And she does. She lives in this heightened reality. But Tom helped to anchor her when he was there. And she could go home to someone who both understood the world that she lived in and also asked her to live the domestic life. And so it was this nice balance that she had of it's not like she was going home to what she thought in season 1 of this, teacher that was innocent and had no idea what was going on. He was well aware she could bring home the issues and talk to him if she needed to. Mm-hmm. But he also asked her to be normal. And now she has Agnes without Tom, and I don't think she knows what to do with it because she's sitting there and she has to find this.
She hasn't been a mom for that long.
Well, she hasn't been a mom, and she hasn't been a mom. Tom spent the first month of Agnes's life with her without Liz because Liz faked her death. Mm-hmm. Then they lost Agnes to Kirk, and then they got her back for a little while. And
then she went to work.
But then Tom left, and she did get a little bit of time. Yeah. But yes, she was at work. There was a nanny. And I just feel like there's been one event after another, and she's never had to really... Normal. Yeah, there's been no normal. And
they might never be normal.
Very little normal. And I've said for a very long time that the Keens are not normal. They are their version of normal. And that they had to accept that. But I think with Agnes, she has to figure out how to Tom understood where she was coming from. She can't bring that home to her daughter. That was part of the problem. It's part of the reason she asked Scotty to take her for a while. Is because she was living in this darkness. She has to find her way to pull herself out of the darkness to be a mom to this child. Her husband was her equal. He understood the child relies on her. Tessa's having a fit over there. Please, say.
It's just because there's something in there that I know you're gonna love.
Okay,
Did you notice that when Red was talking to the stranger, and we were gonna get into that, they were talking about being positive, and that how have I ever let you down and things like that, and it reminded me of Liz and Tom when Tom said, I didn't want to tell you because you'd be positive. That Tom was the one who brought Liz into positive, into humor, into laughing. And I thought it was interesting because they're drawing a sort of very loose parallel between this stranger that knows Red from childhood, and it brings a little like positive light, and Red tends to go into that dark space like Liz does. So I thought it was interesting, and I thought you were going to like it, but I guess you are not impressed.
No, I'm just not following it particularly.
It makes sense in my head.
I'm sure it does. No, I don't question that for an instant. You and I think on very different wavelengths. It's what I hope makes the podcast fun. I would assume it does. We have, for a tiny podcast, we have relatively good listenership. I mean,
and there is all the people that never leave a comment and all that, and then
I was gonna say,
they refer to it in other media.
That's always interesting. I don't look at the numbers very often, but I went back a couple episodes ago and just scrolled through numbers, and I was like, I expected to lose a lot of listeners after Tom died, and I don't think we did. We've done very well.
I think they may be more people than we expect.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you have something else on this? Other than their awesome plan. I mean, she created a charade that Red would have been. Oh, yes, I do have something. I'm excited about it. This is what did you see that when Liz was guiding them by opening the doors? Did it reminded you of Ivan guiding the woman, the Abby that he was in love with, through the streets by turning on the street lamps? I made the jump immediately.
I know who you're talking about.
He was turning on the street lights.
Oh, it wasn't Ivan. Ivan was the guy they thought that was the guy doing
it. He was signing as Ivan. Yeah, it was the kid signing as Ivan.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen that episode in so long, so no. I vaguely understand what you're talking about, and so I did not make that jump, but I did love the scene. There was such a quick wit about it that it went back to how good Liz is. I get very frustrated when I hear people say that Liz is dumb, or she just makes very dumb mistakes, or she's not a very strong female role. She's emotionally
involved. Everybody has areas of blindness.
And she's human, heaven forbid. And I get very quick to defend a lot of times when people get that way. But yeah, they very much highlighted her cleverness in this. It was good.
And this was really worthy of Red. It had everything. Yes. She made them think that they were escaping in order for them, and directed them like right there to the box, and then so that they would be put in the box so that they would be safe. And then
they were in one spot in which they knew the access code to get to it. And I loved Red's comment about, I have it written down. Hang on.
I wouldn't put my girlfriend with the high security box, but
yeah. Not sure I'd associate a high security containment cell with my girlfriend, but I guess love is blind. It was such a great line. I don't know who wrote that, but John, or Lucas, Or someone else who just like pitched that in the room. I don't know who wrote it, but whoever you are, I love you forever. It was such a beautiful line. I cackled in all the right ways.
So, are we all done with everybody else and ready to delve into the mythology aspect of this?
Yes, give me my mythology. Give it to me now.
Now, tell me what you think, because
right,
you made a statement at the beginning.
So we're starting with the stranger. And as I said at the beginning, I am still to this moment not certain if I am being influenced by other thoughts. And because I mean I tend to, when I come up, I'm not a theorist. I am not a theorist by nature. I look at things, I look at character development, and any theories I tend to come up with tend to be via character development. And I'm about to give Tessa an aneurysm over there. Would you like to say what you're going to say?
Yes. So, tell me something, because I've been meaning to ask you, and I think we just kind of like in Raspet, there was so much to talk about that we didn't, and I kept that question because I'm interested in your answer.
Mm-hmm.
When you heard the story that Dom told us, did you think, knowing Red as we have for 6 seasons, that made sense with the character that he was Ilya? You know, this guy who was like goofy in love with Katerina.
So, I'm going to say a hesitant yes, also saying, and also adding to, who you are at 30 years old and who you are at 60 years old can be vastly different.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it depends on, if you live the same life, basically, for 30 years, then you may not change as much. But if you have vast life experiences that shape your very soul, it's who you were at 30 maybe leaps and bounds back from who you are at 60. And so, yes, I mean, the way he views Katerina and the sort of devotion I have felt as a viewer that he feels towards Katerina, yes, I felt very confident in the Ilya bit.
Okay.
And that's why I say at this moment I am back on my fence. And I am not willing to throw in. I was talking to a friend the other day, or I guess last night after the episode, who was very on the Ilya, side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I think this episode may have at least shaken that faith for me. And I said at the time that I wanted to believe it, that I felt like a lot of the people that disbelieve the Ilya thing could be from the writing issues. Not issues in a bad way. Well, not things that I agree with particularly. I feel like they flip-flop too many times. There's a line there that it's difficult to find sometimes, that you don't realize you've crossed it until you've crossed it, and I believe that the writers' team has crossed the is he or isn't he with being Liz's father far too many times in the span of 6 seasons. I think they should... Say what?
More to come.
Oh, God.
I am predicting more to come.
I don't disagree with you, but it makes me cringe. Like, the people that... I don't know a whole lot of casual viewers of this show, but everyone that I do know has long since run for the hills. They've just left because... And if I ask them, why did you leave? The question... It was boring. I was done. And it stretched them too thin out on it. And with so many shows on television, so many options, you have to go in deep to stick with it.
Well, I think that the issue with that question is that they have been answering in little pieces. And it's like you're getting a word out of a sentence at a time.
I think
I love it.
I don't. It will remain probably my top complaint of the Blacklist. I would assume till the end. The is
What if
and
what if they couldn't answer it because then the series will be over?
then they should have found a different way to lay the series out. They
What if they
went
couldn't?
no, there's always a way.
You're
You say
sounding like Red now.
there's always a way. I mean, that when it comes to writing, there is always a way. That's something that I have been learning personally in my own experiences recently. With I will look at a script that I've written. I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever written in my life. Oh my god, I'm a genius. And then I get reactions back from I'm like, I don't think I can correct this in any way to make it better. This is the best I can write. I'll get responses back, and once I get past that horrific, why have you betrayed me and told me this is horrible reaction that you have as an emotional reaction, and start actually looking at the what people are putting in front of you, I stop and go, okay, and then I find a much better path that I never would have found without the complaints. I think, personally, that this and this goes back again to the pacing issue, which goes back to the fact that John Bokenkamp, who is while Eisendrath is a co-showrunner, he is not the creator. This is Bokenkamp's baby, and on the freaking rare chance that he's listening, I don't say this is a bad thing. Good heavens, I hope because I hate when my own stuff is brutalized, and so I don't want to say this is like a negative thing, but it's a learning experience. He's coming out of features. This is his first television show.
Well,
I would hope that his next and his next and his next continues to get much better with pacing. But as of right now, the father issue with pacing is my biggest pain point.
Well, my take on that is that, and I may be wrong because I'm coming at it not from a character development, mainly from theory. And I tell you right now,
theories tend to be much more long game.
Yeah, and that may be it for me. And this is in the theories, in the parts of my theories that I have been put out there, and the parts that I have not, the parts of this that I have not put out there. To me, what they're doing makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. It would not make sense to people until the very end. And I'm quite okay with it. I think I got everything anticipated. I'm not going to say everything here just because. Some of the stuff is so outrageous that people would not even, that would be like, no, we're not going there.
Well, I can't say, like, as it stands right now, I can't imagine a scenario in which at the end I would go, oh, the father issue is okay. I now absolve you of all my irritation with this. I cannot fathom this. But I am also well aware that I am not omniscient.
Mm-hmm.
There have been many a time in the Blacklist, and this is one of the things I love about the group work that goes into television shows.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a fascinating thing, and something that I very much want to be a part of, because I think personally, the kind of writing that I do,
and it result is so much better than the individual parts.
because one person has this idea that they think is brilliant, but until they get feedback from other people, it can't
they make
reach
it
its
more
potential.
brilliant.
Yes, it reaches a potential. And so there may be a path in there. I am willing to very much admit that there may be a path in there that at the end I go, all right, I was wrong. And the path you took is the best one. You took the best path that you could have possibly taken, and kudos to you. It may be partially that way. It may be none of that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I were to personally rewrite the Blacklist, I would have taken an entirely different direction.
But you don't know where they're going.
But that's also it. I don't know the ending. And so it's really easy for me to say on the outside.
Yeah.
Versus
Except
being on the inside adds so many more layers that there's just more truth on that end.
So going back to our
we've gotten off on a few tangents tonight. Sorry guys.
Yeah. So now we get to the mythology part. We talk about all the rest of the stuff. The mythology part were 3 scenes. 2 between Red and a man called the Stranger. Okay? Now, I know that everybody is getting very excited about this Katerina. And one of my friends in Reddit, who's also called Jennifer, and a believer in Carolina, she just, she was the first one in saying, I don't think that this is the important part. It's that stranger. That stranger is where this thing is going next season. And this is the important thing.
When you get an ominous name like the Stranger.
The Stranger. I mean, it's hello.
Well, it's very much a blacklister name. Yeah. I mean, that's always been the type of blacklisters. Overall, it's been the something or another. It's rare that it's Anna McMahon or Robert Diaz. It's been more so...
It's names or this colorful aliases that they use or description. That makes sense. So,
yeah.
This is
the fact that he was called the Stranger without being a blacklister specifically... I feel like that zeroes in on something.
Yeah. No, and there is so many interesting things about this guy. First, he looks like an old Ilya.
He does. He really does.
Mm-hmm. The second one, he calls Red Raymond. He knows Red from childhood because apparently they got into some time in which no trust was because Red would not give back a truck. And so this is like playmates, brothers, siblings, cousins, friends.
I was going to say, I definitely got a family vibe with the fact that he loves him because he trusts him.
Yeah. To me, that's his brother.
Yeah, I could see it.
Then the other thing that we have there is that he also knows Dom. And he knows Liz as Masha. Mm-hmm. And he's well aware of Liz having a child. So this is very much family. I got a family vibe. And to me, the guy is Ilya. Because I never bought the story, the tale that Dom told. For many reasons. It didn't make any sense for me from the characters. It didn't make any sense to me from the way he was narrating it, and when I analyzed the way Liz was leading that tale by telling them what she knew and anticipating where he was going, I realized that once I removed those items, what was left was 2 pieces of information that Dom was telling about the 40 million and about a guy named Ilya Kozlov. And once I looked at that and I said, okay, finally, like a week later, so this is good. These guys are being good because it took me a week to instead look at the plot in the scenes, not what Dom was wearing. And sure enough, those are the 2 scenes where we don't have plot. So I knew that those 2 scenes were the good scenes because don't doubt my plot. So long as you don't doubt my plot, we're good. Now, this to me was so family. It felt like a brother. It felt like a cousin that knows Red and call him Raymond. So now we're getting more and more people who know Red and call him Raymond. And whenever people are talking about, Raymond Reddington is not his name, I always feel that the writers are doing this what was the Aram call it? The lexical ambiguity. Just because Reddington is not his name doesn't mean that Raymond is not his name.
I've had that in a
Or
story in which his name was Raymond. And that was, I mean, because it's
too many people.
Too many people call him Raymond.
Yeah, too many people. It's just that, and then every
Well,
time
I made the comment during Rosfut, during our episode covering Rosfut, that one of my biggest hang-ups over Ilya, Red is Ilya theory, is that his roommate from the academy called him Raymond, knew him, seemed to
well, he
be
didn't
very
call
aware
him
of him.
anything, but
Well,
he knew who he was.
He recognized him as Raymond Reddington.
Recognized the voice. Constantine recognized the voice as Raymond. So
But also
that's what I
Fitch.
always. Huh?
Fitch.
Yes, Fitch. Sam recognized him. So there is more and more evidence mounting that his name is Raymond. Just and when the stranger also said, well, she was bound to find that you're not who you say you are. Yes, I've known since 101, since September 23, 2013, I have known that Raymond Reddington is not his name. I've known that since he put eyes on Liz and started talking. I knew that. But that doesn't mean that Raymond is not his name. Tessa is not my real name, but it's my name. So there you go. It's the same thing. It doesn't have to be your entire name. So and I love that the way that they had a vibe that was kind of, when you don't even need to say goodbye or whatever, you just like sit there meeting by the sea. They always meet by the sea, by the water. Who do you think this guy is? Do you think he's Ilya?
I don't have a definite opinion yet. I think it's possible it's Ilya. I do agree with you that it felt very familial. If not familial, then at least something that dates back to childhood.
An older brother.
Yeah, a brother or childhood friend. Because if you keep up with childhood friends through adulthood, it's like having a sibling.
It's like having family.
Yeah, and I mean, because you know each other's parents, you know each other's ins and outs, and
you've been in and out of each other's houses.
Yeah,
their parents parented you as well.
Exactly. And so, I mean, I have different thoughts on him, and all in all, in the end, I think that I am open to where they lead with him. I am interested, and to be fair, that's what they need from me, is to be interested in who he is, not necessarily to know who he is.
I am so interested. Now,
I hadn't gathered.
Let's go into the woman, because I'm going to go back to the stranger.
See, this is where you and I will disagree.
Yeah. Then we go into this scene, and no, you know what? No, it won't make any sense. That is scene, and I had to print it, and I have it right here. I printed that scene and I stare at it. And then I went and did gardening stuff while thinking about the scene. And that's when I got it. And you know how I got it? Because the stranger asked Red, are you sure? Are you sure about this if you're not sure? And I kept looking at this words, because that's exactly what Anna McMahon told Diaz. Asked the same thing. Are you sure about this?
That is a nice parallel.
Yeah. And I thought,
it.
What is this? Because Diaz was planning something convoluted, making the wife believe that he was going to confess, and at the same time he was planning to assassinate her, and Anna was going with that.
I do have a question. Can I throw a question in here real fast? It's back to Robert.
Yep.
I don't know how we didn't cover this at the beginning. What on earth did that wife think was going to happen? He was going to walk out there on the national stage at a presidential debate and go, I killed a mother and his son while I was drunk driving with my wife. Is that what she thought?
Yep.
Like, who the would do that?
That's what she had asked to, and she thought that he was going to do it.
I mean, honestly,
he said, either you do it or I do it.
Yes, and the thing is, I have never been in politics. I never planned to be in politics. It is a terrifying, soul-sucking situation. But I imagine that those people have people around them, like Anna McMahon, like Sanquist, that are just so involved in your life that they know everything that's happening. And even if this came out, one, somebody would know. If he was actually planning to do this, somebody would know. And two, they would never
$1 million to the cleaner.
They would never allow him to take a stage to announce this at a presidential debate for his re-election.
But their wife wanted to believe it. She didn't. It was not realistic. He was never going to do that.
No, it was.
But the wife.
That's my point. Is that it was just like what entered her mind. It's just
because people want to believe what they want to believe.
I don't know if I'm really impressed or if I'm skeptic over how well they made us believe she was the big bad in last episode.
And to be fair, this could turn around and be that she was the one behind the wheel, that she was the one who killed these people, and that she was doing all this in order to get injured, and she's actually working with the other guys, and her intention was to get him out of the way so that she could be the one involved. I can see that happening.
I have to admit that I was a little disappointed that it was a self-focused, selfish sort of situation of trying to save his own skin versus the Cabal or something like that pulling the strings.
I think that the Cabal might be the alternative, and they're scared.
I don't know. I don't feel like it is. Not at this point, which makes me really sad. Like, I felt like, and it made me wonder at the time, and I don't think I actually jotted this down in my notes, but I do remember thinking about it, it makes me wonder if, because I know that Bokenkamp had talked about having an ending, that he wanted to pitch, and that he wasn't sure if NBC and Sony would be okay with it. Mm-hmm. And I almost wonder if he had a more global sort of ending with Diaz situated, but with the questions that are being posed in the political theater today and the various situations that are coming about and being asked, if that felt like they
too close to reality.
Either too close to reality or pushing an agenda or, it's...
It could be.
And so I do wonder, it felt like to me that the ending of the season was something that maybe not something they created just at the end of it, like it was not thought through at all, but that it was not the first choice.
Yeah, I feel that there is more to all this, and I would not be surprised that is either now the opponent who's going to be the focus next year, or that it was always the wife, and the wife was the one who killed the guy, told Diaz that he was the one driving, he was drunk, and she's the one, and she was working with Lindquist to actually get not one kill shot, because there was no reason why he missed that shot. That it was not that the intent was for her to get injured.
And maybe the opponents with the Cabal. I may totally eat my words, and I kind of hope I do, because at this point,
this is definitely going for Cabal.
I hope so.
I
like the depth of the writing that I've seen over the years. No matter how much I've complained and grumbled over it, I do feel like there's a depth of the writing that's expected, and that's part of it, is an overarching sort of situation, not just, and while this happens back to the, oh, what was his name? It was the dude that she met in the trailer that was calculating risk assessment.
Yeah, the ethicist.
Ethicist, thank you. It harks back to the ethicist where he covered for a guy that had hit a young girl on a bike while drunk driving. And so, I mean, that's exactly what I thought about when they brought that up.
Yeah.
But, and that's what I mean. It doesn't feel like a last second sort of situation.
Well, they're doing that. And I am sure that this is going to go back because you know how I know there was the alternative ending for Alan Fitch, they had a secondary way, and in that other way he ends up living. They disarm the bomb, and what he does after that is running for president. So I think that they were going in a very roundabout way to somebody in the cabal running for president.
Yeah, and that, thank you. I appreciate that because that gives me more hope that there's something continuing on with that, and that we're still moving in that direction.
So going back to this, there were things in that dialogue with the stranger that kept bothering me. The first part is very simple. First, and the stranger is like, did she believe that story? Like, how could she believe that story? That's pretty unbelievable. And she said, yeah, she did. So that was something that I said, well, you know, that should, if for anybody who's still thinking that all of that story is true, I think that those words should give us pause. The second thing is that Red says, I want this done before Masha brings home her daughter. So this is, this is the part we're saying, you're always so optimistic, Red says to the stranger. And Liz told Tom that he didn't, that's, you know, you're always so optimistic about it. So there is a darkness in Red and a darkness in Liz that Tom contrasted, and for Red is this stranger. So it's, you know, dark people tend to go or have, you know, links that are deep to somebody who pulls them out of that darkness and brings them light and laughter and trust.
They have to. Yeah. I mean, and that goes back to, you can't live your life without trusting anybody. Mm-hmm. Like, there is not one soul in this world that can live entirely isolated. Mm-hmm. I mean, even think back to the movie, and I couldn't watch it all, but the Castaway, was that it, where he was on the island with Wilson?
He made a little person with him.
But that's my point, that like, he, even physically alone, he had something he could focus on. A presence. And so that's, humanity you can't be an island.
Yeah. Well, Red actually trusts a lot of people. I don't know if he trusts all of them with everything. They all know, they all may know a little piece of it. So the interesting thing about the setup in which we supposedly meet Katerina is that Red is asking this guy to do something. You know, they're talking about the consulate is looking for Katerina, the Russians are looking for Katerina, and he wants something done. And the reason why he wants it done soon is that Liz decided to bring Agnes home. So the catalyst for this entire thing is that Liz is bringing Agnes home. And it's funny because Red has been the one telling him, bring Agnes, bring Agnes. And then at this point,
I noticed that he's been very pointed at it.
Yeah. And then at this point where he's saying that, I don't know if there was something that he learned in between, but for some reason, suddenly now he wants this thing done. So what is this thing?
Can I make a comment on a character?
Yeah.
Why I feel like he's taking that approach.
Mm-hmm.
So in season 3, season 3, he made the comment to Liz. He said, "I should have raised you myself."
Mm-hmm.
And I think Red regrets not sending her back to Sam, to Sam, whatever he did, depending on who he is.
Leaving her with Sam.
Leaving her
Not
with
picking
Sam.
her up.
Exactly. And I think that many days he regrets doing that. He is also aware that he couldn't in a lot of ways, because it goes back to that lovely deleted scene that you love to harken back to, that talks about being able to be a parent.
Yeah. When the only thing that can make you survive in the world is that actually not caring if you survive in that world.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have a fear.
And so he has this regret that hangs with him. I don't think Red likes to hang on to regrets very often. It takes a lot for him to hold on to those regrets. And when he does, he locks them away deeply. And yeah, I think they do eat him up. And they end up shifting
motivating him without him knowing what he's doing.
Yeah, which is the way people work. It really is. And I think that in a lot of ways, his own personal regret for the way he went about Liz is influencing him telling her to go after Agnes and to protect Agnes and to bring her in and bring her home. Because he knows that regardless of how well Sam did as a father, that he is always going to be her dad. And
he still didn't bring her up himself.
Exactly. And I think that he doesn't want Liz to live with that same regret years later.
As he's told her.
This is the moment. This is it right here. He told her a while back, and I've held this against him for a while. He said, "I won't let you be separated from her any longer than's necessary." Mm-hmm. And so I think right now he feels like if he were to tell her no at this point, she would continue to find reasons moving forward to not bring Agnes home, just as he did. As he did with her. And so he is telling her, bring her home, and then in the background, he's going to deal with the one situation that he feels like could put her into danger. But if he were to tell Liz about it, it would make her stop, it would make her put the brakes on, and then from then forward, she might continue to find things, because she's made up her mind now.
Yeah.
And if he were to be the reason she put the brakes on, he could theoretically be the reason that she continued to put the brakes on moving forward. Even without meaning to.
And it's interesting the way this is shaping up, because when he brings her in and he's there, Red makes a point of saying, "I don't want to intrude in this." Of course, a part of this is because he has to go and meet the stranger. But there is also this thing about, he's telling Liz, your mother is not a danger to you. Your mother can't hurt you, which is interesting because it's the same way that he phrased it about, I can't kill you. That he said, I can't kill you. And which is out for a lot of people is like, oh, I want to, but I can't. No, it's just, I can't kill you is the highest expression of not being able to. It's just not under consideration. It's something that can exist. And he phrases it the same about her mother. Your mother can't hurt you. A lot of people think, oh, because she's dead or because I'm her. I think it is the same thing. He cannot.
Which brings up the question. Segue.
Mm-hmm.
The woman that he meets. You do not believe that's Katerina Rostova.
No, and I'm trying to go in a very roundabout way about explaining why. And it's a complicated thing. It took me a day. It took me an entire day to figure this out. What Red is doing is is telling this guy, apparently we are meant to think Red is asking this guy to find Katerina. Now, if finding Katerina were that easy, that it can be done in a day or two, that this whole episode happens, Red would have found her herself. Glenn could have found, anybody could have found her. What is then this stranger? Hold the thought. Hold the thought. You need to finish the thought. This is not simple. So, an apparent thing, what he's doing is asking, they're saying they're going after her. They're actively looking for Katerina. This is bad. I want this done before Liz brings her daughter home. And that when the stranger comes back, gives it this picture, I found her. You're supposed to mean to take, I found Katerina. Gives her, and it says where? Paris. So when asked, are you sure? This is all making us think he's found Katerina, right? So you're in that mindset that this is Katerina, right? He looks at that gives her the picture. He looks at that and says, "Oh my God, it's her." I'm telling you, Raymond, paper trail, the passport, the travel, it's her. We are meant to think that he followed the paper trails, the passport, the travel. What he really did is found a double and created the paper trail, the passport, the travel. Why is Red doing this? Because he needs to create a decoy. He is putting himself as the decoy so that if they're trying to find Katerina, they will try to find her through him and not by risking Liz or Agnes. This woman, if you look at the dialogue, this woman is waiting for him. She has a hypodermic needle, and the first thing she says is, "Are they watching?" And so this is a performance. They found a woman, they did this charade, and then he takes her in order to create, for the people who are trying to find Katerina, now they think that Red had known where Katerina is. He's making himself, he's being the sin eater, he's making himself the decoy. And I kept looking at that, are they watching? And this woman, there was zero emotion there. I'm like, what on earth is going on here? And yet at the same time, they're kissing, and that she's interrupted to say, "Are they watching?" So this is really, I kept looking at that scene. It's like, I could see Katerina having a lot of emotions. I could even see Katerina doing exactly what this woman did. Pretending and then stabbing him and having him taking, that all sounds like Katerina to me. But it's the way that she stops and says, "Are they watching?" And then Red says, "You're not safe. It's not safe. You're not safe." And then she stabs him. I don't know if what he wanted was to be stabbed and taken, or if this woman actually betrayed him, or if the stranger betrayed him. But one thing I am 100% certain is this is not Katerina. This is a decoy. When he says it's her, and once you look at the scene with those eyes, I went and I watched that scene probably 5 times this morning. I couldn't make it. There was always something bothering me, and then I got to this realization, and I watched it. It's like, oh my God, yes, and it's brilliantly written. It is absolutely brilliant, guys. If you're watching, kudos. This was hard. So I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. And finally, the great thing was the way she grabbed the hat between 2 fingers. This is disgusting.
Oh, I loved that scene. Oh, see, I didn't get that at all. I got a toying with it. It's a job well done. I just succeeded in something that needed to be done and that I was planning to do, and here is the symbol
Trophy?
of the man. Yeah, trophy. Exactly. A trophy.
Mm-hmm.
That is, yes, 100% trophy. Like a serial killer taking a trophy home.
Mm.
That is exactly what that was. And I am inclined. Are you done?
Yeah.
Are you done with yours? Okay, I thought so, but I just want to make sure. I am inclined to believe it's Katarina. I follow your logic. I do. And I am willing to admit it's possible. My personal gut reaction on it is that I guess if it was all some big charade, maybe. But overall, if he thought that was Katarina, I've seen a lot on Tumblr today that like, oh, well, it's a fake. It's not really Katarina, and he was fooled. I can't follow that. That's logic I can't follow because he acted like he knew her. And regardless of if he's Ilya or if he's Reddington, he's either her childhood best friend or her lover. I don't think there's a third person that he could be. You know, he's one or the other. He's either the original Raymond Reddington.
At the beginning, you were on opposite side of me in Rasvet, thinking that he was Ilya, and now you're back. You climb back on the fence. Now you're on the side of the fence. You're on the other side of the fence, thinking that she's Katerina.
We gotta keep this entertaining. I mean,
I know.
I'm just doing my part to keep this interesting.
Yeah. So
I'm just doing my part. What? And so I feel like if he's going to her, there's no possibility that he thinks that he knows who she is. And if
he's not being fooled, in other words. I go there. Yes,
exactly. And like I said, like, yes, I can follow your logic on if he was aware of a whole bit, maybe. But just following what we're being shown, I do not, for even a beat of a moment, feel like this is someone that's faking being Katarina and tricking Reddington.
No, I agree.
Even just looking at, he's an incredibly intelligent human being that's good at faces and names and every inch in between. That's what I meant by he is either her childhood best friend or her lover. Or both. You know, could be both. But he's either Ilya or the original Raymond Reddington. I don't think there's a third person he could be. And seeing that, he has known her as an adult, he has been close to her as an adult, and if you see someone as a young adult and then don't see them for many years,
you still
there is a point. Yes, you still recognize them. There's a point where, yes, you change.
It maybe take you a beat to say, whoa, exactly. Okay, oh, there you are.
Exactly. Like, you might not recognize them immediately, but if you're looking for them, and he, as it was posed, he went looking for her. And so if he walked up to someone who was faking being Katarina when he was looking for Katarina and she turned around, he would have gone, nope, and immediately been gone. Like, you're not Katarina. And then she would have drugged him, and that's how it would have ended. And so I am of the opinion, as the information has been given to us. It's, what did you say a few episodes ago when we were talking about Rosfit? Don't put the cart before the horse. And as the information has been given to us, I am leaning towards that's he was looking for Katarina and that's Kat. Now, I could be wrong. Like I said, a couple episodes after Rosfit, more information has been given, a new actor has been introduced that looks a whole lot like the younger version of Ilya. Ergo, I am willing to open it up. I am in the same way to Katarina. This is how I feel at this moment. Beginning of season 7, I'll readjust as it needs be. That's the wonders of not being a theorist, is
Yeah.
I feel like I can readjust a little better.
Yeah, theories,
So,
you have to look backwards. And I wanted to add, for those who follow the Carolina theory, of which this Jen, not the same Jen as in Reddit, this Jen doesn't believe at all. So please don't
Jen,
bother
aka
her with,
Takata Cycle.
yes. This
Honestly,
Jen,
no one has bothered me directly. No, to be fair, no one has bothered me directly. From what I understand,
they
they've
bother
harassed the other
her.
Jen,
Yeah.
which I
And
am four square against. One, just don't be a jerk. Like, just
yeah.
try to be kind to your fellow human beings. Like, that's just across the board. You agree,
But
you disagree, just be nice.
The interesting, for those who are inquiring and wanted to hear, because I got a few questions in my mailbox that I haven't answered, because I wanted to answer them in here first, and then when this is published, then I'll do a post and answer all those questions that I have. Is that, remember that in 2017 Carla died out of 2 bullets coming out of her apartment, which is bizarre to say the least. Because Red would not have sent her to a crime-ridden area. And what kind of, it just doesn't make any sense. And Red was like, I can't believe this happened. And he was not aware. And he was looking for her because he thought that Garvey had given her the bag of bones. And so this is 2017. She died the same year that she died, the same, quote unquote, the same year that the bones were unearthed, and the same year that Red was under attack to the point that he dug the island box. And that would have set Dom's antenna up, like, this is not right. I mean, things are dire. So in the same year, she dies or fakes her death, and Red cannot find her. And what happened? And that's a 522. He got finally the bones, and he burns them. And in 601, he is actually looking for a plastic surgeon that, even though at the time we didn't know that he was attached to Katerina, it is attached to Katerina, and did a surgery on somebody who may be a Mr. Reddington, but also could be a Mrs. Reddington. Remember, Berlin was looking for Reddington, except it was a she Reddington, not a he Reddington. So this is exactly the same situation, that Kohler may have been the surgeon who gave Katerina a new face. Because if you're running, you're not going to run with the same face. That is kind of like defeats the purpose. They have pictures of her. They can find her. So
with Katerina, if she's had an adjustment to her face, it doesn't mean that Red hasn't seen it. Especially with the photo.
And in the first, but in the Carlarina theory, he was looking for Kohler, imagining that after she faked her death and she hasn't been in contact with him, she would have naturally gone to the surgeon that she arranged a previous surgery for, whoever she arranged it, and was looking for Kohler. Because what has never been explained, and remember I said, let's shelve this entire season started by Red looking for Kohler. Why was he looking for Kohler? Who is the one person that died or faked her death? It's Carla. I think he was looking for her, and he couldn't find her, and maybe that's another thing that he took from that drive, that whoever Katerina became, or the face that she had. But it's from that perspective, from the Carolina perspective, you have to remember that event, that she's been in the wind for 2 years. You don't be, yeah. That is within the context of that theory.
I was gonna say, and that's why we preface this with this Jen, aka Takata Sayako, does not buy coloring.
That Takata Sayako does not believe Carolina.
I for a good point, I followed your logic on it. I just didn't agree with it. And so at this point, I feel like we've moved past Carlarina, but that's what we'll see. I remain to the point that if it turns out that Carla is Katarina, that's fun. I feel like it'd be a fun twist. I just don't see it happening.
You
know what
want
I
to
mean?
see?
Like,
You want to hear
it's one
my twist of who the stranger really is and who was Red and
Sure.
how is all that thing? Because you might,
Sure.
if you think that's fun, wait till you hear this. I think that Red and Ilya are brothers, and they created a persona that they both inhabited. So they were both Raymond Reddington. It was a charade.
Twins. Oh my gosh, you have
They
a
were not
twins
twins.
theory, don't
No,
you?
they were not twins. They're brothers. Close enough that with a photo and a passport, more or less could be the same. But that way, remember how emphasis on doubles and doppelgangers and bilocation. That way, they created this legat of the assassins. It was this character that was so good because it could be everywhere and knew everything. A desk joker that was an analyst and a guy in the field, and nobody knew who was which, and they both had all this information between the two of them.
But you think Red was still Raymond Reddington that was sleeping with Katarina, that was
they both
being
were
taken by
Katerina.
her. That's an interesting thought. I do like it. That comes close to a thought that I've pushed out, but I used in my last major heavily Red involved AU that I was working on, in which Red and in the original Raymond Reddington, as I was planning at the time, is before Ilya popped up, was that they were partners in the Navy. They were both in Navy intelligence, and they were both named Raymond, but they were partners, and they were as close as brothers, and very close, and both caught up in Katarina's web.
Mm-hmm. And I also think that Dom is not a Russian, a KGB agent. I think this is all a big charade.
I'm less inclined to believe that, but we'll see. We'll see.
But see,
that information.
At least you didn't put that face like, I'm not going there.
See, you guys can't see it, but Tessa can see my expressions, and I am not fantastic at hiding my facial expressions. I would be a terrible actress. I'd probably be a pretty horrible spy, because I just go, wait, what? I make a face. I know I do.
You actually were like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's amazing. This is a first. Point.
That's, it's an interesting theory. Up until recently, I felt like Carlarina is a fun theory. Not likely, but fun. I feel like it's less and less likely with every piece we get. That's me, From until the end, until they announce it, we'll see.
But the amazing thing about the show is that so many people see so many different things, because and granted, there are a lot of things I have not even written anywhere, and so you're not gonna find those pieces anywhere except in my head. From where I'm standing, every piece is falling exactly where I thought it would be. So I'm like, I'm so excited, especially when I figure this out. And I love that it took me a while to figure it out.
Well, hey, that's kudos to that. We are at about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Or do you think do you have anything else to add?
No.
We're done?
Oh
my goodness. Well, we knew this is going to be a long one. And I apologize, guys, because by the time this gets edited, it will probably be into the week. Like, my My work schedule has just been brutal lately. I used to have so much time, and now I finish work and all I want to do is curl up and cry. But, but it's my life. That's where I live. Anyway, I don't have a whole lot of time outside of work, basically, right now. And everything I've got has been dedicated to writing. So it may take I hope so. Either if it's mine or fan fiction or what have you, as a writer, I'm one of those people that, like, when people get hangry when they don't eat and they get angry and hungry, I get whatever that version is when I don't write. If I'm sitting there and I have no creative outlet of writing, then I get very irritable, and I am not a pleasant person to be around. It's terrifying. And I have a roommate and a cat that lives with me that would hate me to death if I got that way too mad.
Right, Jen.
Anyway,
right.
Right, I must write. This is best for everybody. You guys can talk to us on Tumblr, Twitter, and Facebook. You can listen to us on YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud. And we would love to hear from you. We always love to hear your ideas, your thoughts, your reactions. I feel like people have been responding more and more as we go along.
Yeah. And we don't know if we're going to do anything in the hiatus in terms of a podcast or anything like that. But
right.
if we do not, then guys, we'll see you. And it's only September, October.
Yes, and thankfully, oh, good heavens, thankfully it's not a 9-month hiatus. I felt like personally I needed that last year, but I'm really glad we're not waiting until the springtime. It just, like, I'm glad that we've got a shorter hiatus. So guys, until next time, we will, keep an eye out on social media. We'll let you know if we're doing a special series. Tessa and I get antsy on things, and we want to talk and theorize and play with ideas, and so my guess is we'll do something. So just kind of keep an eye out, and we'll let you know. And if we open it up, because we do like to use hiatuses to open things up. We did it last time, and it'd be great to do again. We'd love to have you guys on. It's tons of fun to do interaction.
Yeah.
In the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be fun. So it was all in all, I think it was a great season. I was impatient in a couple of times, and I got very upset when it turned out that Red had lied or was mistaken about the 1990 and the 2 months after the fire. That got me very upset because I had to throw out a lot of stuff, and especially the timeline was a bad thing. But all in all, I gotta say, it was a great season. It's been fun to share with you guys. And until next time.
Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.